welcome back to Real Talk Sports with Rico. Today, I will be your host. Today's show, we are actually talking about the Western Conference Finals or Western Conference NBA, guys. So, we will be talking about the Western Conference Finals and who should be there, but we're going to be talking about the Western Conference and all the teams there. And we'll be just pretty much breaking down each team, each division, much like the Eastern Conference, if you caught that show. And so before we actually jump into it, let me go ahead and thank Spotify Podcast, which was formerly Anchor. That's a platform for us. We also are on YouTube. You can catch us there at Real Talk Sports with Rico on both of those platforms. You can also check the show links below to actually get to our show. And I want to go ahead and thank the sponsors out there who have put sponsorship on the show, and then the fans out there who have chimed in on a week-to-week basis to help us drive content to the show. All right, guys. So I'll actually be throwing teams up on there. I'll actually be talking about, what is expected of these teams, what my predictions are in the conference, what I'm think is going to happen, and just kind of giving you a prep here for the NBA season starting here this Wednesday. So let me go ahead and actually bring up I believe it's the defending champs division here in basketball, and that is actually going to be the Northwest division of the West. And so we bring them up and we'll start there. All right. So starting here with the Northwest, man, I think that we would be just to here start with the NBA champions. And I think it starts with the Joker here that we're looking at. So I think that he essentially put his stamp on the league. We all knew that he was good, but I just think the fact that he took that leap and step forward from being not just an MVP, but now a champion as well. He's going to get Jamal Murray back at full strength this year. A lot of people were wondering what was going to happen with with Jamal Murray coming out here. I believe that they have still the best 1-2 punch in all of basketball, as far as I'm concerned. And, I just think that the bottom line here is that Jamal Murray must stay healthy. So does the Joker, which both relatively have been able to. The only thing that's really worrying me at this point in time is that they've lost some key pieces off the bench with Bruce Brown and Jeff Green now having left in free agency. But for the most part, you still, again, have the two best 1-2 punch here in all of basketball. When you look at Jamal Murray and you look at the Joker, as far as the elite starting lineup here, they were plus 11.8 points per 100 possessions over 1,082 total minutes last season. And that was enough here to give them really, I think, a chance to repeat at this thing. The thing that they did lose is they lost the sixth and seventh on the team as far as total playoff minutes. So that kind of hurt them with Green going to Houston, and then you have Brown going to Indiana, which I talked about on the last show here. The one guy that they do have left on that bench, and it's the guy that was huge in earlier runs, is Reggie Jackson. You're looking at Reggie Jackson. He's a key for their next playoff push here. So, I think the player to really watch for them is going to be Peyton Watson. That's really going to be the situation for them. Essentially what you're looking at here is they were ranked, I think, 29th in the bench last season. So they're going to need to get a little bit more deeper here on this bench. They've got Christian Braun. They've got a little 7 to 10 kind of question marks on that bench. So the bench is really the key for the champs. And so if they can get some good push off the bench, then I think that they're going to be okay here. I know that they got Justin Holiday over there, Reggie Jackson. They still got DeAndre Jordan over here, but it's just not that same type of style that they had last year. So that's the only thing that scares me about the Nuggets, but make no mistake about it. I think that they are going to be there at the end. You're looking at Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Claudius Pope, or Cladwell Pope, excuse me. These guys are going to be very well. All right, guys, as we bring up our next team here, give me a second. All right, guys. And so as I bring up that slide here, apologize about the delay. But the next team to talk about in this particular division is going to be the Timberwolves. And so with the Timberwolves, my whole thing with them is just the Timberwolves are young, and I feel like the Timberwolves really haven't done enough as far as adding like real pieces here. I think that the Timberwolves essentially are kind of just running it back for the most part. I think that really it does start with Anthony Edwards here. I think that that is going to be the key for them. Is what can Anthony Edwards bring to the party yet again? Um, I think that if Anthony Edwards is on his game, that's obviously going to give him a chance there. But then the next thing is what is Carl Anthony Towns going to do? Because I think that as good as Anthony Edwards is, if Carl Anthony Towns doesn't play well, then you're looking at a situation where it's like, okay, if he doesn't play well, you know, where do you go from there? Because it looks like they're running it back with the same pieces. I don't think that it's going to work with the Stifle Tower out there. I think that you're running in a situation where they're not they're not really big enough for me personally. I think that when you go back and you take a look at this, they just haven't added enough. I don't believe in Rudy Gobert. I love that they have Jay McDaniels here, but it's just so much that they have to just get in order to take that next step here. So, I think it's going to be a disappointing season for Minnesota. I think that it is going to end with them possibly going out here and shaking up the roster. And I really think that they're going to have to get rid of Gobert. Like, I just think that that project is not going to work for them. And I think that the player that has to take the leap for them is Jay McDaniels. I think that all eyes are going to be on Edwards, but this guy's 6'9", the guarding, the smalls, the bigs, the in-betweens. He's got to basically show that he can be an all defensive player in this league in order for them to take a major step forward. And I think he's probably going to be the most important person on their roster this year, honestly, outside of Anthony Edwards. Next up here, taking a look at OKC. OKC is probably one of my more favorite teams to watch here in the West. I think that starting with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, Lou Dort, you know what they bring. But how about the question mark has got to be Chet Holmgren? I think that when you look at Chet Holmgren, a lot of people aren't saying this, but I'm going to be the first person to say this. I think that he is the 1B to Wembanyama. I really do. I feel like he for sure can be that next guy. I know we've been calling guys the unicorn, but these guys are like aliens, man, with what they're going to bring to the league and the way that they're going to change the landscape of the league. I feel like, he is going to be a huge shot blocker for them. I think he's going to be an offensive firepower. He can shoot the ball. He can rebound at a high clip. I think that this is going to be a really, really good team this year. And I think that Josh Giddey is the guy to look for with his increased minutes. I think that he's going to be able to essentially distribute the ball just about to everywhere. I think he's going to be a huge rebounder for them. Like, I think that OKC is going to take a major, major step forward. I love that they have Carson Wallace over here from Kentucky. They have Bartons as well. I think that they're going to be huge. Next up, I think they're going to be exciting, and that's going to be the Trailblazers. I like the Trailblazers. We're expecting that they're going to ship off Malcolm Brogdon, but right now he's there. Elite defender. You got Anthony Simons. I think he's going to take a huge step forward. He averaged 21 last year. DeAndre Ayton's going to get easy buckets. Jeremy Grant has been very consistent. I love the fact that they've got Robert Williams over here. They have Scoot Henderson, who I think, to me, he's like a Chris Paul, but he is more athletic. I think that he is like a guy that a lot of people think that they wouldn't necessarily, they would understand if he would have won in round one. But the keys to watch here are Shaden Sharp and Henderson. I think that these guys are the main guys. Sharp has the potential to be the number two. He's got freakish athleticism, shot 36% from the three-point land. He looked really good in the summer league. I think that this guy is a 20-plus point scorer in this league. I think he's going to be a defensive powerhouse. This team is going to be exciting to watch. Yes, they may take some L's, but I think the Blazers are really going to be an exciting team. I'm going to subscribe to watch them. I think that they're going to be phenomenal this year. I think DeAndre Ayton is going to be a madman out there since he got shipped off. But trust me, Scoot Henderson, he is a guy that you want to look for. And the undercard in this team is Chris Murray. His brother Keegan Murray plays for the Spurs. You're looking at him on my screen. I love the Murrays. I think that this guy's going to be good. They've got Jabari Walker. His son, his dad, Samaki Walker, played in the league. Next up, you have Utah. Utah had a really good year. Laura Markkinen, Colin Sexton. You're hoping he's healthy off the hamstring. They got John Collins over there from Atlanta. Still got a good score in Jordan Clarkson. And then you have Walker Kessler, who arguably was one of the best rookies in the class last year after having a disastrous first couple months of the season. I think Utah is going to be competitive. I think they're going to be right there. It wouldn't shock me if they're right there in a play-in situation. I love Keontae George. He may have to go into the G League to develop a little bit more, but did have an ankle injury, but I think he's going to be solid this year. I love him to be a really good factor here. I just think that Utah is in a tough division over here. I think that the real key for Utah is going to be, what can Colin Sexton do? Colin Sexton has been injured for most of his career. He ended his season after the All-Star break last year. For them to be competitive here, he's going to have to be out there. So they've gotten rid of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and they're moving in the right direction. Danny Ainge has built a fabulous team in Boston. I think he's building a fabulous team here with Utah. Next up here, taking a look at the division that the Dallas Mavericks are in here. So starting with the Dallas Mavericks, I mean, I think that is much of the same thing for the Dallas Mavericks. I think that you're looking at a team here that is probably destined to pretty much finish about where they were last year. I think that they're going to be slightly better, but I don't trust the fact that they're going to have a healthy Kyrie Irving. I think a lot of that depends here on Kyrie Irving as we're in the Southwest Division. And I think that they're depending on a lot of young bigs here, which I think is going to make them defensively better. I love the fact that they brought Seth Curry over. They have Grant Williams. They've got Maxi Kleber still here. Derek Jones Jr. coming over, but they've got Rashawn Holmes coming over from Sacramento. They got Derek Lively here. I think is going to be an excellent lob player. Think of him a lot like a Jarrett Allen. You're hoping that they use him, but it's the question of, can this young player adapt and get there quickly? I love the fact that they have Marquise Morris on the roster at this point in time to bring some toughness. So they're going to be a lot better defensively, but I think that they are really going to be reliant on Kyrie and Luka staying healthy. And Luka's got to be a lot better as a defender. I don't necessarily see that happening here with Dallas. So I think that Dallas is probably, like I said, they're going to be into line with a lot of what they had, I think, over the last couple years. And I think that Mark Cuban eventually is going to have to shake this thing up. I really, really do. I just think that, the bottom line for them is, the player to watch is going to be Dwight Powell. What is he going to do? Here's a guy that, they've got all these centers now, but you're asking your question, what is he going to do? Holmes, who averaged 14.2 points and 8.3 and a block a game in 2021, can he regain that? So it's so many questions that they have up front from the center position. That scares me with them. And then, with the 25th rated defense, they gave up 116.1 points defensively last year. They've got to be a lot better, especially in the West, if you're going to be able to advance. And so I just don't see that defensively for them. Next up, the most upcoming, and I would say the team that a lot of players would like to look forward to or watch, actually, is going to be the Houston Rockets. So you got Van Fleet, you got Jalen Green over here, Sagoon, Jabari Smith, Dylan Brooks. So the lineup has gotten better. I love that they've gotten a championship coach back over here from Boston, Duque. So I think that they're going to be tough. I think that Houston is going to be able to run the basketball down a lot of people's throat. They're going to play fast. They're going to be a lot more physical here. And I think that now that they've got Jabari Smith in year two, I saw some things summer league. He was fascinating to me. I love Sagoon. Sagoon reminds me of Mark Gasol and Pau Gasol. Like that's what you're going to get with this guy. A lot of people saw his footwork coming out of Europe. I knew he was going to be good, but now I think now he's really, really going to be good. He's going to be featured this year. You guys are going to love him. I think that when you look at him, think of an Al Horford, but a guy that has a lot better footwork and again plays like a Saul here. So, look, you got a player in Dylan Brooks who's been in an all defensive second team selection. He's going to have to find a way to offensively score, at least stretch the floor a little bit better here. He's relentless. He's hardworking. He's going to be critical for their culture, and he's got to stay on the floor. So I think that that's going to be huge for them moving forward. Boston took Nduke took Boston to the NBA Finals in 21-22. Obviously, he's been the coach of the year. He's got Van Fleet over here. He's got championship experience. They've got Azir Thomas coming over in the draft. Like these guys are young. They're hungry. They've got Cam Whitmore coming out of Villanova. It's so many exciting pieces. If you're a Houston fan, you have got to love this. Houston is definitely a team to really look for over there. And Amon Thomas, I think you're really going to love him. Reggie Bullock, they got him over there, an extended shooter. Tyree Eason, Jeff Green coming over with that championship experience from Denver. Cam Whitmore coming out of Villanova, MVP of the Summer League. Jock Landale, a center that played for Phoenix. You got Boban over there. He's got some experience. Van Fleet, obviously, you know what he can do. So next up, we move over to Memphis. And so Memphis, the key with them is Ja Morant is going to be in. He's out with injury. Steven Adams is just announced he'll be out for the season with a knee injury. They have Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, Jared Jackson here. I expect that, unfortunately for Ja Morant, who said we're not going to be worried about the West, they better be worried about the West because they're going to hurt significantly here without him being on the floor. I think that now that they lose Steven Adams as a rim protector, that's what hurt them last year against the Lakers. They got beat up there. I think that you're going to see much of the same thing. Jared Jackson hasn't proved that he can stay on the floor with the foul troubles, even though he did take a leap forward here this summer with Team USA. He looked pretty good. But they just have so much looming over this thing with the suspension with Ja Morant. And then also, too, they've gotten rid of one of their best defenders. They've got Desmond Bane over here, but I don't like what they have up front. I will say the one thing that is going to be a surprise for a lot of players, I think, when you look at Kenny Lofton Jr., I think he's a player that I think is going to make a high impact here for this team. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes. I think Marcus Smart for sure is going to be effective, but you have Derrick Rose coming over here to back him up. They have Brandon Clark coming off the injury, but I think one of their MVPs is going to be this guy, Kenneth Lofton Jr. He was spectacular. Next up, you have the Pelicans. So you have Zion Williams, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Valanciunas, and Herb Jones. So the question about the Pelicans is health. Zion Williams hasn't been able to stay healthy. Ingram's been out of the lineup. CJ McCollum's been consistent, but out of the lineup as well. So they regressed last year. I think it was mainly to injuries. The question is, what are they going to get from Williams? He played in 29 games last season. He missed more than 60% of the team's total games throughout his career thus far. He's taken serious steps in the offseason with the weight room, and he's definitely on track here to get back into some great physical conditioning, but I'm not sure. It looks like Trey Murphy, the third, is out with a meniscus injury. He's expected to miss some time. He really came on late. Ingram averaged 24.7 points per game in the 22-23 campaign last year. He could also look for a supermax this year, which I think he is going to. And I think really the key for them is going to be health, and then also too with Zion Williams. He's played in only 114 games over 4 seasons. He's acknowledged these things. The question is, it's one thing to acknowledge it, but it's another thing to go out here and fix it. And that's my key with them. Can he be healthy? If he can be healthy, I think that the Pelicans are for sure a team that can be a playoff team. Jordan Hawkins, a guy that's coming out of Connecticut where they just won a championship. You're looking at EJ Liddell coming out of OSU. I think he's going to have a good young, or I think David Griffin's got a good young piece here. So they're going to have some young pieces. It's a feisty team. It's a team I wouldn't want to play. And I think that they're going to give some teams some problems, but barring injuries, that's the key for them. Next up, the Spurs. And so the Spurs, you got Victor Wembanyama. I'm going to say it right now. Victor Wembanyama is a generational talent. He is going to be like a LeBron James. And much like LeBron said, he's not a unicorn. He's an alien. Saw him in Summer League, watched him struggle in game one, watched him take off in game two, have watched him throughout the preseason take off. Guys, this guy's legit. I'm saying it right now. He is probably going to be the rookie of the year. And I know he is probably working with Tim Duncan and David Robinson daily. You're looking at Devin Vessel. This guy's going to have a phenomenal season, and so is Keldon Johnson, going to have a phenomenal year. So is Jeremy Sokin and Trae Young. These guys are going to be phenomenal this year. Now, do I think that they're going to make a playoff berth? I don't know about that. Zach Collins is going to be huge for them, a guy that came out of Gonzaga that can shoot the ball, Malcolm Branham. A lot of this is going to come on the fact that they're young. They do have C.D. Osman over here, Devontae Graham on the roster to give them a little bit more experience, but they're extremely, extremely young, but they're well coached. So this is probably going to be one of the best offensive units that I think that, that they have as far as a long time since they've had Kawhi and Tim Duncan and those guys over there. So I think Popovich has got his work cut out as far as having an offensive scorer that can do everything. I don't know if he's ever had a player quite like this, but this guy's a once in a lifetime talent. And I'm telling you that the Spurs are going to be really, really good. So that takes care of that division. And now we're down to, I think, the most exciting division in the Western Conference. And I think a division that a lot of people who probably listen to the show are really looking forward to, and that is going to be the Pacific Division. That has got a lot of teams here who have made a lot of changes, starting with the Golden State Warriors. They shipped off Jordan Poole. They now have Chris Paul over there, who may come off the bench, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins over there. And, the real question with them is they still have the same core. I get it. But now it is, what are they going to do with Chris Paul? And is Chris Paul going to be a difference? The question is, has the championship window closed? I don't know if necessarily the championship window has closed for Golden State. What does scare me is that now they don't have necessarily the height. And so that's really what's going to be key. And that's where Jonathan Kuminga is going to come in. Jonathan Kuminga, they're expecting him to have a really good year, especially on the pick and roll now with Chris Paul there. They help him out. They shipped off Jamie Wiseman. They thought that really necessarily wasn't going to work. You got the savvy experience in the backcourt with Chris Paul. Now you have Mike Dunleavy taking over the front office here for Bob Myers. Jordan Poole got a ticket out of here to Washington. You're hoping that Klay Thompson and these guys can come on. Key additions, they got Dario Saric. Klay Thompson's up for free agency. They've got Corey Joseph over here. So I just don't know as far as the height is concerned. That's what really scares me with Golden State. So I don't know about that. I don't bet against Golden State. I think they're going to be there. They did just let go of Rudy Gay. They just got this young man here on the screen coming over in the draft. They have Trace Jackson Davis here to help the shooting, but just height, I think, is what's going to be scary for Golden State. Next up, you have the Clippers. And so with the Clippers, question is health. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Plumlee, Zubac. They have Terrence Mann that's going to start for them. The question for them is going to be health. They're no longer going to be load management. Teams are going to be punished for that. We know that. And so now you're asking yourself, okay, can he get the max out of this roster? Okay. Can he get the max out of this thing? I don't know. The one player that has to take a leap, it's surprising to me, but it is going to be Kawhi Leonard. Can Kawhi get back to where he was? They have Josh Primo over here. They've got a young rookie in Kobe Brown. I love him. Xavier Moon on the roster. So they got a lot of young pieces, but the key is going to be the health of Paul George and these guys. Can these guys stay healthy? That's going to be critical for them. I love that they brought Kenyon Martin Jr. over from the Rockets. Norman Powell, 6th man of the year. arguably, I think that's going to happen. Next up, the Lakers. And so a lot of people feel like the Lakers are destined to get back to the NBA Finals. They think that the Lakers are probably in a situation where they can prove that the bubble was, not a fluke, and they can go out there and really seize the title here with, playing a full season and going through everybody. Um, they felt like, hey, with Gabe Vincent coming over, they've got Christian Woods, they got Jackson Hayes, they got Torian Prince, they also got Jalen Hood, Shafino to play in the first round, can play a guard, small forward out of Indiana. That guy is tough. Watched him in the summer league as well. Max Christie, a guy that's coming over here and shooting the basketball extremely well, taking over for Malik Beasley. You got Austin Reeves here playing that extended role like Caruso. They got Jared Vanderbilt. They brought D'Angelo Russell back. They got Anthony Davis. Like, the Lakers have a lot to like that you love. Like, they brought everybody back. They got extremely powerful with just the center position. So I think even if Anthony Davis goes down, LeBron James legitimately still has some players to really play with. And so I think that that makes them dangerous. And I think that now they have the height and really the depth. They could probably bang with Denver over there. They're certainly going to be able to bang around with Golden State. So look, the Lakers are scary. The question is, can they stay healthy? I keep saying that. I know you guys keep hearing this, but these teams are a lot older that I'm talking about. And because of that age factor, and these teams are depending on them, if any of their stars go down, they certainly are starting to about that. All right, guys. Sorry about that, as we had a little bit of an issue here with the audio and video. So, just going back to the Lakers situation here. So, yeah, man, I think that the Lakers are definitely going to be in a situation here to be really, really good. I think that at the end of the day, man, you're looking at a team that is basically destined to meet the Denver Nuggets. I think that they did a great job picking up Jackson Hayes, Cam Reddish. Like, they've basically given themselves so much insurance policy going into this thing. Like, I think that the Lakers legitimately are going to be there. Next up, you have the Phoenix Suns. So the Phoenix Suns, you have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. You have Nurkic coming over from Portland, and then you have Josh Okigi here back at the small forward position. So the Suns are basically a top-heavy team. I'm not really impressed with the fact that they have Bradley Beal. It looks good right now, but I think that the bottom line for them is that it's going to be injuries. And if any one of those players go down, then I think that you're going to see much of what happened to them last season. Yes, they brought over Bobow. Yes, they have Drew Ebanks. I love that. I love the fact that they have Eric Gordon, they have Damon Lee. But a lot of these guys are free agents. And again, I think it's going to come down to the health. Like, Nurkic is not a guy that has been healthy for his career with either. He hasn't been healthy with Portland, and I don't think he's going to be healthy this year for Phoenix. He hadn't played more than 56 games since the 2018-2019 season due to various injuries. He's had like crazy leg injuries over the years. He has mobility and switching and playing effective in pick and roll defense, but the question is, can he stay healthy? And I'm not sure that they're going to be able to keep him healthy here. Um, I think that the one player probably pretty much to watch for is going to be Nurkic, and can he take that leap? Yes, they have a lot of offensive firepower to make a title run here, but again, it's going to come down to injuries, and I think it's also going to come down to depth. And that's one thing that Denver has shown, and even Golden State. The teams that win championships have a lot of depth, and Phoenix doesn't have a lot of depth, guys. So it's going to look sexy. I promise you. It's going to look really, really good, but they're not going to be the team that is going to emerge out of the West or really emerge out of this division. And even if they do win this division, I'm not sure that they're going to win the West. I do like the fact that they have Grayson Allen here, what you're looking at. I feel like Grayson Allen, it does give them a little bit of defensive priority. Do they use him effectively? I'm not sure. That's going to be a key. Here's a young man that came over from the Nets, good three-point shooter, played with Kevin before. We just talked about Nurkic and his injuries and really the key for him. Next up, the Sacramento Kings. I think the Kings are definitely destined to move up here. I think that they're going to make a push in this division again. I expect for them to be in the playoffs again. I don't think that they're going to be a low seed. I think they're going to be a high seed in this. De'Aaron Fox, I think, is going to have a special season. Sabonis was a center that was only behind the Joker as far as assists. So I think that he's going to have another career year this year. They have Malik Monk. They have Keegan Murray. They have Kevin Huerter. They really didn't change too much here. I think Keegan Murray took a step forward when I watched him in the summer league. He looked phenomenal. I love the fact that they have JaVale McGee and a champion over here. He's played under Mike Brown before, so that's going to help them. They still retain Harrison Barnes. Chris Durrett was really good with the Pacers when he could stay healthy. But that's the question is can he stay healthy? Great player for Oregon back in the day there. You have off night Delvin Mitchell or Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, I think his name is. So, I think he's going to be special for them defensively here. So, the Kings, I think, are going to be right there at the end of the day. I think that, the Kings are definitely going to take a step forward. And again, they're going to be a higher seed. They're not going to be a team that is going to necessarily be playing, I think, against a Golden State in the first round here. Now, as far as the division breakdown comes, I think that we're looking in these divisions, starting with the Nuggets, Timberwolves, Thunder, Trailblazers, Jazz. I think that the Northwest is going to be the Nuggets all day long. I think that the Thunder are going to fight them in this division, but I think ultimately the Nuggets, man, they just have enough experience from a championship standpoint. And the Thunder, they remind me a lot of what they were doing when Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Westbrook were getting there. I think Sam Presti's got that. They're still going to need to figure it out a bit, but they're not going to be a play-in team, but they are not going to beat, I think, the Nuggets in this division. Next up, the Southwest Division. So you got the Mavs, Rockets, Grizzlies, Pelicans, and Spurs. I don't think that the Grizzlies are going to win this division. I actually think that, to be honest with you, I think that the Rockets are going to be the team to win this division. I'm making a bold statement here, and I feel like the Rockets are going to be the team to beat in this division. They're going to be very improved mentally, and I think also, too, you guys have got to look at the fact that a lot of the players that they have, they're on year 2. They're in their sophomore year, and they also had good summer leagues and preseason. So now I think you pair that with a championship coach. You bring over Van Fleet, who is an elite three-point shooter and a great assist guy. You bring over the toughness in Dylan Brooks, who at once was with the Grizzlies and has been in some meaningful playoff games. Like, this team is going to be a problem. Sagoon is going to eat people up in the post. And if you go to double him, you've also got to worry about various players on the outside, whether it's Cam Whitmore, whether it's Edmund Thomas. Like, there's so many ways that they can beat you. I like the Rockets to win this division. Lastly, the most exciting division in the West, the Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, Suns, Kings. I think that ultimately this division is going to come down to, I think it's going to be the Lakers division to win. I really do. I think that even with injuries, I think that the Lakers are probably going to win this division. Now, it would literally take a catastrophic thing for the Lakers not to win this division. Now, when I look at the Lakers, they remind me a lot of what the Dallas Cowboys are in football. It's a lot of drama there, and things can go south very quickly. So if that does happen, I would say that the next best bet in this division would probably be Golden State. And I say that because Golden State has Chris Paul. I believe Chris Paul has something left in the tank. Guys, you can look this up. Every time Chris Paul has gone to a team, that team has increased its winning percentage and its wins overall. If Chris Paul is the Chris Paul that I know, the Warriors are going to be better than what they were last season. Okay. Now, they don't have the height that they had before, but remember, Chris Paul has played in a system that is similar to what the Warriors run, a la when he played with James Harden in Houston and they almost took down the Warriors. So he's now with that supporting cast. He can shoot the three ball. He doesn't have to be a main facilitator. The Warriors are still a scary team in this division, guys. And I think that they are like my 1B here. Okay. The only reason I'm giving the Lakers the win on this is because I think that they have a lot of depth here. As far as coming out of the West, um, probably my top three teams are going to be the Nuggets, Lakers, and Warriors. I think Phoenix is going to be not healthy enough. The Clippers are not healthy enough. I think ultimately the Rockets are going to make a run. But I just think that they're probably like a veteran or two away from getting out of the West, guys. And so, with that being said, that is today's podcast. I'll probably hop on and do a short, guys, and give you probably my prediction as far as going into who should be in the NBA Finals. But right now, we've gone over both the East and the Western Conference here, going into the Wednesday tip-off, guys, for the NBA season here. So before I actually get out of here, I want to go ahead and thank you know Anchor, which is now Spotify podcast, for going ahead and housing the podcast. I want to thank YouTube here for housing us too as well. You can find us at Real Talk Sports on Spotify podcasts and also YouTube as well. That the links for this will be in the show notes below. And I also, too, want to thank the sponsors out there who put sponsorship on the show. And then I want to thank the fans out there who have listened to us on a week-to-week basis here, guys. So, and helped us drive content to the show. So for myself, this is Rico. This is Real Talk Sports, guys. I will see you on the next show. We're out of here. All right. Peace, guys. I'll see you on the next one.